A complete guide to self-improvement mindset, habits and discipline. Self-improvement begins the moment a person realizes that change is not something to wait for, but something to create. It is not reserved for the lucky or the gifted, it belongs to anyone willing to take responsibility for their thoughts, actions, and direction. Growth is not accidental. It is intentional, structured, and earned through daily choices that may seem small but compound into transformation. Everything starts with mindset. The way challenges are interpreted determines whether they become obstacles or opportunities. A fixed way of thinking keeps people trapped in old patterns, while a growth-focused mindset turns failure into feedback and effort into progress. When the mind is trained to focus on solutions instead of limitations, possibilities expand. Belief does not replace hard work, but without belief, hard work rarely lasts. Habits are the physical expression of mindset. What is done repeatedly eventually becomes who a person is. Motivation may spark action, but habits sustain it. Successful individuals are not driven by constant inspiration, they are driven by systems they follow even when they do not feel like it. Small habits, practiced daily, quietly build confidence, skill, and momentum. Neglected habits, on the other hand, silently drain potential. Discipline is what holds everything together. It is the ability to act in alignment with long-term goals rather than short-term comfort. Discipline is not punishment, it is self-respect in action. It shows up when motivation fades and excuses become tempting. Through discipline, time is protected, focus is sharpened, and standards are raised. It turns intention into execution. Self-improvement also demands awareness of environment. Surroundings, routines, and influences either reinforce growth or slow it down. When the environment is designed to support progress, discipline becomes easier and habits become automatic. Growth is not just about willpower, it is about structure. At its core, self-improvement is about ownership. Progress accelerates when responsibility is accepted without blame or complaint. Every day offers a choice: repeat the past or build the future. Those who commit to improving their mindset, refining their habits, and strengthening their discipline do not just change their circumstances, they change their identity. The journey never truly ends, but each step forward builds clarity, confidence, and control. Self-improvement is not about becoming perfect, it is about becoming better than yesterday, again and again. Self-improvement is not a single act but a continuous journey that unfolds with every choice made. It begins with the realization that transformation is not handed to anyone, it is cultivated through daily attention and consistent effort. Every day offers opportunities to act with purpose, to challenge old patterns, and to embrace growth. Waiting for the perfect moment only delays progress, because the perfect moment does not exist. True change comes from small, deliberate actions repeated over time, each one compounding into a stronger, wiser, and more capable self. The path of self-improvement requires patience, because results are rarely instant. Momentum builds gradually, and those who persist through discomfort, setbacks, and distractions eventually find themselves ahead of where they ever imagined. Growth demands commitment even when motivation wanes, because motivation is fleeting, and relying solely on it creates inconsistency. Choosing to show up every day, even in small ways, defines the difference between stagnation and progress. The mind begins to adapt to the practice of discipline, and new capabilities emerge, solidifying the transformation that was once only a thought or a wish. Each day is an opportunity to reinforce habits, refine mindset, and strengthen resilience, forming the foundation for long-term achievement. Mindset, however, acts as the guiding lens through which all experiences are interpreted. The way challenges are perceived determines whether they become barriers or stepping stones. A rigid, fixed mindset views failure as permanent and effort as futile, limiting potential before action even begins. In contrast, a growth-oriented mindset interprets obstacles as learning opportunities and effort as an investment in capability. Thinking evolves into action, and action compounds into results. Perspective shapes decision-making, emotional responses, and the ability to persist under pressure. The mind cannot be separated from behavior. What is believed internally manifests externally through choices and habits. By consciously cultivating a mindset that values curiosity, resilience, and adaptability, individuals expand the range of possibilities available to them. Difficult circumstances are approached with strategy rather than frustration, and uncertainty becomes a space for creativity rather than fear. Awareness of one's thought patterns allows for conscious redirection, ensuring that reactions align with long-term objectives. Over time, mindset solidifies as a framework for consistent growth, influencing habits, interactions, and the ability to navigate life with clarity and purpose. Habits are the invisible architecture of personal growth, shaping outcomes more reliably than motivation ever could. They are the repeated actions that quietly define who a person becomes, long before any external results are visible. Motivation sparks movement, but it is fleeting, and relying on it alone creates inconsistency and frustration. Habits, on the other hand, operate beneath conscious thought, guiding behavior automatically and conserving mental energy. Small actions, when performed consistently, accumulate over time, producing exponential impact. Reading for 10 minutes a day, exercising briefly but regularly, or dedicating focused time to skill development may seem insignificant in isolation, yet repeated persistently, they create lasting change. Habits reinforce identity. The person who journals daily sees themselves as reflective. The one who prioritizes exercise begins to embody discipline. Awareness of current habits is the first step toward improvement, followed by intentional design of routines that align with goals. Replacing destructive patterns with constructive ones requires patience, repetition, and the willingness to navigate discomfort, because growth rarely occurs in familiar territory. Over time, habits build momentum, and the compounded effects become self-reinforcing, making progress almost inevitable. Discipline acts as the framework that sustains habits and converts intention into action. It is the ability to persist in alignment with goals, even when enthusiasm fades or obstacles arise. Discipline is not a matter of brute force or deprivation, it is the deliberate commitment to prioritize long-term objectives over short-term gratification. When consistent effort is demanded, choices become clearer, and decision-making is guided by principles rather than impulses. It shows up in daily routines, in the willingness to delay comfort, and in the courage to maintain standards even when it is inconvenient. Discipline transforms potential into performance, bridging the gap between aspiration and achievement. Without it, even the best intentions falter, and progress stagnates. By exercising discipline, the mind and body learn to respond predictably, creating reliability and structure that amplify the effectiveness of habits. Each act of self-control strengthens the capacity for the next, gradually forming a resilient foundation capable of supporting greater challenges and ambitions. Through disciplined practice, what once felt difficult becomes manageable, and over time, excellence emerges not as a result of sporadic effort but as the natural outcome of sustained commitment. Clarity of purpose is the compass that directs all effort, cutting through confusion and indecision. Without a clear understanding of what truly matters, energy is scattered and intentions lose impact. Goals without definition are like destinations without a map, leaving progress uncertain and motivation fragile. When purpose is defined, every choice gains meaning, and distractions lose their grip. The mind becomes focused on what advances growth rather than what satisfies temporary impulses. Priorities naturally emerge, and decisions become easier, guided by alignment with long-term objectives. Clarity is not a one-time discovery but a constant refinement, shaped by reflection, experience, and honesty about what matters most. By identifying what contributes to meaningful progress, the tendency to procrastinate diminishes, because the path forward becomes visible. Unnecessary complexity is removed, and actions can be structured to produce consistent results. When clarity exists, obstacles are seen not as threats but as challenges to navigate with strategy, reinforcing confidence and sustaining momentum. Purpose and direction act as stabilizers during moments of uncertainty, providing both motivation and resilience to persist when conditions are difficult. Consistency, more than intensity, is the engine of long-term growth, transforming small actions into powerful results. Sporadic bursts of effort may produce short-term gains, but they rarely build lasting progress. True mastery is the result of repeated, deliberate practice over time, not occasional extremes of performance. By showing up regularly, even when conditions are imperfect or enthusiasm wanes, progress compounds in ways that sudden intensity cannot match. Consistency develops trust in oneself, strengthening confidence that effort will lead to results, and reducing the mental friction of starting over repeatedly. Habits gain strength through repeated application, and skills improve incrementally, forming the foundation for higher-level achievements. The focus shifts from fleeting results to steady growth, understanding that meaningful transformation is a marathon, not a sprint. Each consistent action reinforces others, creating momentum that sustains effort and makes persistence easier. Even minor improvements, when maintained daily, accumulate into significant changes over months and years. By prioritizing regularity over occasional heroics, momentum becomes predictable, growth becomes measurable, and the journey toward self-improvement becomes manageable, structured, and rewarding in a way that intensity alone can never produce. The environment in which growth occurs shapes outcomes more than most realize, influencing behavior, focus, and the ease with which progress is maintained. Surroundings, routines, and the people encountered daily can either support development or quietly undermine it. A cluttered, chaotic space often mirrors a scattered mind, while a well-structured environment fosters clarity and productivity. Social influences play an equally important role. The attitudes, habits, and standards of those closest to an individual subtly reinforce either growth or stagnation. By intentionally curating surroundings and relationships, focus is preserved and effort becomes more effective. Positive triggers in the environment, whether through visual reminders, organized workflows, or supportive networks, reduce the reliance on willpower alone and make disciplined action more natural. Conversely, neglecting environmental design leaves one vulnerable to distractions, negative influences, and inconsistent habits. Growth is reinforced when the environment is structured to encourage desired behaviors, and the path to improvement becomes smoother and more sustainable. Conscious attention to environmental factors amplifies the impact of effort, ensuring that every action is supported by context rather than undermined by it. Ownership is the cornerstone of personal development, transforming the way challenges and opportunities are approached. Accepting responsibility for thoughts, actions, and outcomes empowers individuals to create meaningful change rather than wait for external circumstances to improve. Blame, excuses, or dependency on others often lead to stagnation, because progress becomes contingent on factors beyond control. When ownership is embraced, even failures are reframed as lessons, providing insight and direction for future decisions. Accountability to oneself cultivates consistency, clarity, and resilience, because actions are aligned with intention rather than reaction. This mindset encourages proactive problem-solving, deliberate planning, and the courage to confront discomfort in pursuit of growth. Every decision becomes a building block in the foundation of improvement, and the cumulative effect of responsible action compounds over time. Ownership also strengthens confidence, as it reinforces the understanding that change is possible when effort is aligned with purpose. By taking control of circumstances through deliberate action, the capacity to influence life outcomes expands, creating a sense of empowerment that fuels further development. Personal growth is maximized not through luck or external validation, but through conscious acceptance of responsibility and the consistent application of effort guided by principle and intention.